Right, so thanks for joining the call. We've got 38 people on the first South Shields Football Club online Q&A with Lee Picton. Thank you for joining, and thanks to everyone who has sent in a question. We've had quite a lot of questions sent in over the last few days. If you haven't sent a question in and you want to ask a question sort of live tonight, the way to do it is to hover your mouse over the reactions button at the bottom of the page and press the raise hand function. If you press that, I'll get a notification saying that you're ready to ask a question, and that's how we'll sort of get through everyone over the course of the night. If you put your hand up on there and I'm not responding to you in a reasonable amount of time, put a message into the chat function and I'll pick it up on there. So I'll kick things off with a question from you only. It's obviously been 3 or 4 months now since you made the transition from first team joint manager to chief executive of the club. How would you say that first 3 or 4 months have gone for you, and what have you sort of learned the most, would you say, over that time?
Well, first and foremost, good evening, everybody. I hope everybody's well. Yeah, you know, the first 3-4 months for me has been really challenging. It's obviously been a huge departure from what I've been used to doing over a long, a number of years, not just at South Shields, but previous to that. But absolutely, relishing the challenge, really enjoying the work that I'm doing with the people that I'm working with. I've said it before and I'll say it again. We have an abundance of fantastic people, both inside the club and outside, so to speak. And the best kind of analogy I can use really is that it's just like a massive jigsaw puzzle in terms of having to try and compartmentalize all the different elements of the club, outline and identify what the key challenges are, what the keys are in and around every single element of the club, and to really try and problem solve as best we can, and hopefully think on a different level to what we have, in order to find some really creative solutions for what has been a really difficult and challenging period for the club, for everybody in society. And we're really optimistic about what the next 12 months holds and beyond that. And we can't wait to see you all back at the ground, and then hopefully enjoying some live football pre-season come July, August time.
Brilliant, thanks, Lee. Has anyone got a question for Lee to kick things off, please? Got iPad. I don't have your name there, but I'm going to unmute you now to give you a chance to ask your question. So you should get a little notification asking you to unmute yourself. So if you want to introduce yourself with your name and your question for Lee, please.
Hi everyone, I'm Grant, and Lee, what got you to manage South Shields?
In what respect, Grant? What do you mean exactly?
What forced you? Well, not forced you, but decided you to make your decision.
Right. Okay. Well, previous to my time at South Shields, I had one spell at the club previous to this spell. So I was assistant manager of the first team back in correct if I'm right, 2011, 2012.
Yeah, that's right.
Around that period, and then I moved away from the club to go and take up a role at Newcastle United's academy. I worked there for a couple of years, and then I became assistant manager at Blythe Spartans, and we were at the time in the same league as what South Shields are in right now, the North League. I had a couple of really enjoyable seasons at Blythe, and then Thompson and John King approached me to come on board at the football club, and they painted a very, very positive and ambitious picture around what direction the club was going to go in. And although at the time South Shields were effectively 3 or 4 steps lower than what Blythe were, I felt it was a really interesting project, shall we say, and Jeff was like I say, very, very persuasive, very clear about that's when I took the step to come to the club, and have never looked back, and have enjoyed every single minute since I've been at the club. And hopefully, I would like to enjoy many more years at the club from here on in. But thanks for your question, Grant. Thank you.
Thanks.
Brilliant. Thanks, Grant. Has anyone else got a question at the minute? Got Rob Reed ready to ask a question, so I'll just unmute you now, Rob, if you give me a second.
I've got it done.
Got it.
Lee, when you were approached to join Shields, when, like you say, when you had the project to get from sort of to make that 4-step leap to where we are now, did you have a plan to sort of, in 4 years' time, we know we will be in that situation, or did you sort of take each season as it came?
Yeah, I think it's very difficult and dangerous sometimes, particularly in football, Rob, to think too far ahead. I think that's part of my role now, to in some respects to think beyond just the next 12 months. But trust me, when you're involved in football management, it can be very dangerous sometimes to think beyond the next 12 months, because it can be quite a precarious profession. And if you take your eye off the here and now too much, then you usually find yourself out of a job. But yeah, so look, I knew coming in that the way that the club was set up, it was geared up for potential success. It already had a promotion under its belt by the time I came to the club, and that first season that we had at the club was obviously a very memorable one, with all the trophies that we won, and that obviously proved a really important springboard for the continued success after that. But to reinforce the point I made earlier, we've been through some really tough challenges over the last 12 months. We've probably been hurt, I would argue, in more ways than one compared to other clubs, because of the way that we have set the club up, and because of the way things ended at the end of the 1920 season. But I honestly believe, 100% believe, that we are in a fantastic place now. We've learned a lot of lessons. We've received an unbelievable amount of support from the fan base and from others. And we're in a position now where I feel like we're ready to really go and push again and make those next couple of leaps.
Brilliant, thank you.
Lee, there have been a few questions, as you know, sent in via email. Quite a few of them came in from Martin Parker today, relating to the announcement last night about the move to full-time training for the first team. Yeah. So his first question was, given the announcement about the move to full-time training, how is this move being funded with presumably higher wage costs?
Right. Well, that's a good question. I mean, you've got to remember that obviously over the last, technically the last 2 seasons, we've worked with within the hybrid model, so to speak, which has had the majority of the players being on full-time contracts. So it's not like we've gone from a full transition from a part-time model to a full-time model in one step. Obviously, what we've looked at, again, trying to be creative around finding solutions. We've looked at various things. Myself, Graham, Brian, John, Jeff, Keith. We've looked at maybe looking back at the last 2 seasons, we've carried too heavy a squad in terms of numbers. So can we maybe reduce the number of first team players in the squad, whilst transitioning further to that full-time model, which in effect balances some of the delta in the costs that we would incur. So to be honest with you, the upturn in wages ahead of next season, hasn't materialized obviously up until this point, because we haven't made decisions as to who we're going to bring in yet. But they will be offset by a reduction in the number of first team players in the first team squad. We will probably, if required, we will probably look at utilizing the loan system a little bit more regularly if we have, you know, a spate of injuries that affects our ability to put strong squads out on the pitch. So, but you know, there's no two ways about it. You know, I'm happy to be open about it. I don't think it's any surprise to anybody in terms of how do we fund it. Of course, my job is to try and drive the revenues in the right direction across the board at the football club, whilst keeping the costs under control. But you know, since day one, since Jeff's come into the football club, I don't think it's a huge secret that Jeff has obviously at least partially funded the ongoing costs at the football club, and we want to get to a point as soon as we possibly can where the club is financially self-sustainable. But at this moment in time, we're not quite there, and there'll be obviously added challenges as to the overspill, if you like, from the effects of COVID, which are going to hamper some of our revenues next season. You know, we're going to roll sponsorships in some cases over, so there'll be a reduction in sponsorship revenues next year. We've obviously done the right thing by the fans in terms of offering, you know, refunds on season tickets from the 2021 season. But there's financial challenges there. But in Jeff, we have somebody that is 100% committed to the club. We owe a huge debt of gratitude to him, of course, and he is as committed as ever moving forwards.
On a similar point, Ryan Wells, who's on the call with us tonight, has asked, now the club's transitioned to a full-time playing model, is there a belief that you'll be able to attract an even bigger calibre of player next season?
Well, that's our aim. You know, whenever we go out and recruit for the first team, it's always with the aim of, can we improve on what we've already got? We're not in the business of trying to bring players into the football club that come in at the lower end of the playing squad. So yeah, I think it's a really interesting one, and you know, I think some people may question the strategy that we're trying to deliver in terms of the level of football that we're at the minute, and you know, we're going to go down this full-time route. But we believe that, especially, you know, to almost try and use the COVID situation to our benefit, that there actually will be a huge market, a buyer's market, if you like, in the coming summer for high-quality players. You'll see a lot of clubs higher up in the football and food chain than we are right now currently, who will have to cut their squad sizes accordingly, you know, offload players, and there will be, in our minds, a buyer's market created whereby players will be available who are out of contract, who won't require a transfer fee, and you know, whose wage demands would have been tempered by the current landscape that we all exist in at the moment. So we feel that there's some really big opportunities, and that there's the potential for us to bring in some really, really high quality players into our squad.
Okay, Ken Buzzard wants to ask a question. So I'm just going to ask Ken to unmute himself at the minute.
Yeah.
There you go, Ken.
Hello, Lee. All right.
Hello, Ken.
Just a question on basically what you've discussed as well. I'm just wondering how the situation is with Luke Daly and his injury, because haven't heard much about it, and I was just wondering about that.
Yeah, I mean, goodness, it seems like an absolute age ago now, doesn't it? Ashton at home, second game of the season in the 1920 season when he first did that injury, and you know, we've obviously stuck by Luke, so to speak, and Luke has been working extremely hard, and we are, you know, we're all set up and geared for Luke to be you know, fully fit for the start of the 21-22 season. And that's a mouth-watering prospect for me personally, because having worked with him, you know, in close quarters, so to speak, I know just how much he can potentially give to us on the pitch. And all you guys as fans of the club, you've all seen it firsthand, what he brings to the table on the pitch as well. And I think, you know, he's been through a lot of adversity over the last 18 months. But you know, he's had a lot to deal with mentally as well as physically. But I think what we'll hopefully see next year is a Luke Daly that is absolutely chomping at the bit and with a massive point to prove. And I'm hugely looking forward to Luke being a big part of our success next year and beyond.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, there's another question came in from Martin Parker, linked to the announcement about the training model again. He's asked, is the associated business plan predicated on promotion next season?
Well, look, I think, again, you know, Jeff has always, you know, put his money where his mouth is. He's always invested into the club with a view of us being successful on the pitch in each and every season. And for, you know, for a club like ourselves, success on the pitch is promotion. It's as simple as that. And, you know, we build our strategies around getting promoted. And it's almost like, you know, of course, there's no guarantees. There never, ever is any guarantees. You don't know what's going to happen. I mean, you only have to look at the last 12 months to realize that. But, you know, if the worst case scenario did occur and we weren't to get promoted next season, then we'll have to take stock and revisit, you know, what our projections are, what, you know, what our direction of travel is. But I think we just go in each and every season, and Jeff's just always adamant about putting our best foot forward as a football club. You know, be bold, you know, really aim as high as we possibly can, and almost try and mentally remove the possibility of anything else happening. And I don't think that's a bad strategy. At times, I've always tried to impart that strategy, no matter where I've been, in terms of, you know, if you don't aim for success, if you don't aim to try and be the best, then what is the point? So I know it's, well, look, that I hope that answers the question. In terms of the, you know, the business plan, at this moment in time, the business plan is very unclear, because in so much as there's still huge question marks around how many fans are going to turn up next season when we do return to football. I mean, I'm sure all you guys will be there, but we don't know. You know, we've enjoyed obviously very healthy crowds, particularly for our level of football at South Shields Football Club over the last 5 years. But there is absolutely no guarantee. We don't know if people's behaviours have changed. We don't know if people's attitudes and mentality has changed over the last 12 months. So it's difficult at the best of times to try and predict what's going to happen in football, because so much of the commercial side and the revenue generating side of the business is predicated on on-field success. You know, that's just football. If you're doing really well, you're going to get bigger crowds who are going to spend more money, and it's a knock-on effect. But exactly the opposite happens if you go 6-7 games, you know, 6-7 defeats on the bounce, then people are probably, you know, some people are going to stop turning up. And so it's, at the best of times, it's difficult to predict and form really clear projections and business plans around how things are going to potentially pan out. But we've got a model, and we feel like it's going to work over the next 12 months. And if it doesn't, then we'll take stock again, and, you know, at the end of the season, and we'll replan.
Martin Parker sent in 5 questions. We've kind of covered the first 4 of those, but his final one was, are there any guys in the academy at the minute who are ready for that move to full-time status, would you say?
Well, I think we're really proud of what the academy's achieved in terms of on the pitch success, and how it's grown in terms of stature and reputation, and the processes that we use within the academy setups, to the point where we're producing really good young players year in, year out. I'm going to try not to dodge too many questions tonight, because I really want to try and be as open as I possibly can be. But I hope everybody appreciates that there's some things that do carry some sensitivities with them. So at this particular stage in time, I can't give you any names as to who will or who's got a chance of being promoted into the first team squad at this point, because Graham, John, Wes, Jamie, they haven't had those conversations yet with the players. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to leave it at that. But there will be a presence within the first team squad from some academy players that have come through over the last year.
Okay, and if anyone does have a question, remember just to put the hand up emoji on, and I'll get a notification. But there's still a fair few to get through from the emails. And Mark Jackson, who's put his hand up just now, is one of those who's asked some questions. So I'll ask you to unmute yourself now, Mark.
Useless at the technology, see. Hello, Lee. All it was is if there's any word about the possible restructure at steps 2 and 3 of the league, and any indication what league Shields will be playing in, or have you just taken for granted that it will be step 3? Just with the announcement last night, yeah. I was wondering if that had any bearing whatsoever. Hopefully a possible promotion to step 2, or is that just totally wide of mark? Or have you had them discussions yet?
I wish that announcement that we made yesterday was off the back of some kind of assurance or indication that we were going to find ourselves at a different level next year. But Mark, I'm 99.9% sure that we'll be in the Northern Premier League next season. So that up until this point, and I think it's been made public knowledge, the National League Board, so obviously the board that controls steps 1 and 2, are not open to the possibility of extending their member club numbers within the top 2 tiers of non-league football. So that, I know there's things that have to be ratified and decided by the FA themselves, but at board level, at National League level, that is their stance at this given moment in time. So that door appears to be shut.
It's a pity.
Yeah.
I don't know if I had 2 questions. You want to just ask the other one, Dan?
Of course you can. Yeah, thanks, Mark.
Yeah. The other thing is there any further news yet on the planning permission from the council for the new stand?
Yeah. Well, obviously, what we're working towards now is it's been deemed a minor application by the council, which carries an 8-week period of consultation and decision making. So we're looking towards the back end of April, somewhere in around the 21st of April mark, to hopefully get a positive planning decision from the council, which then gives us obviously the green light to go ahead and with the actual physical erection of the stand, which again, this is something I'm hugely excited about. There's been a huge amount of work that's gone into this over the last few months, and we've had regular meetings with the architect that we've appointed recently, and the floor plans and some of the interior designs that we've looked at. I think I just can't wait to see everybody's face when they walk into the ground and walk into the stand and see what we've put together for the fans of this football club. It is really exciting.
Sounds great. If you say April, would that be any chance that will be ready for August or not?
So again, with a nice following wind, Mark, and hopefully nothing major in terms of problems along the critical path of the construction. What we do feel confident about at this stage, hopefully, fingers crossed, touch wood, is that we will have an operational stand by the start of the season in terms of seating. In terms of facilities housed within the stand itself, that's a little bit more unclear as to what percentage of completion we'll have by the start of the season. But again, if things go our way, then I'm quietly optimistic that we're going to have a good number of facilities available for the fans by the start of the season, if not very shortly after the start of the season.
Oh, that's good. That was the other question anyway about the facilities, but you've answered that anyway by August. So that's great, Lee. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. We also had a few questions sent in by Phil Thornton as well. He's asked if there's any plans in place yet for Friendlies ahead of next season. When you're looking ahead towards restrictions potentially being lifted in June, is that something that's already on the club's mind?
Yeah, it is. Graham and John and Brian are obviously looking at that now. In terms of, obviously we would usually try and arrange some, quite attractive fixtures against professional opposition. It's difficult to get that nailed down at this particular moment in time because those professional clubs are still active within their seasons. So from step one up over, all those clubs are still active in the 2021 season. But there's nothing unfortunately there's nothing I can confirm or announce at this stage. But I think what is clear is whether the new stand is 100% complete or not. We will still have at least 3 sides of the ground open and available to us, so that basically what I'm saying is that there won't be an impingement on our ability to host home friendlies during the pre-season period. We will still host home friendlies during the pre-season period, whether there's 3 sides of the ground or 4 sides of the ground open. And obviously, as and when we confirm those friendlies, we'll announce them in due course. Sorry, I can't confirm anything at this stage.
And Phil has also asked a couple of questions relating to the deal with Kit Locker that was announced earlier this week. He's asked, when should we be able to order new kit on Kit Locker, and what other opportunities does this announcement bring to the club?
Yeah, no, I personally feel it's a major step forwards for us as a club. As I've already said publicly, spent quite a bit of time taking a lot of opinion from across the spectrum of people associated with the club, and that was one of the things that both internally and from the fan base, there was some frustrations around our current online functionality with regards to purchasing merchandise, maybe too narrow a selection of merchandise, not just team wear and kit, and training wear, but what you would class as kind of white label goods as well. So your mugs and all that kind of stuff. So the new partnership with Kit Locker gives us a nationally recognised or a nationally leading operation to effectively run that side of things for us. So the quickest way I can describe it really is that it would be like an Amazon shopping experience for the fans. So if you want a shirt and a mug, you will go onto the Kit Locker website, open the tab for our club store. You can peruse all the various merchandise lines online, which will all be presented visually in a professional way, and then it's just kind of click, and then they'll be delivered to your door. And if there's any issues with anything, you return them back to Kit Locker and they will deal with it. We obviously have our commercial agreement with Kit Locker in terms of how the money is then moved around and appropriated. And obviously we will still retain the ability to sell all of those lines out of our own physical club shop, which will be housed in the new stand at the ground. But we just feel, with their marketing acumen, their technological know-how, their storage capabilities that they have, their track record that they have as a company, that it's going to be a really exciting partnership for us as a club moving forwards.
Brilliant. One more, Phil. What would you say is the biggest untapped commercial opportunity?
Sorry, Dan. I didn't actually answer the question. I just realised.
Okay.
So in terms of when, June is the short answer. obviously we have a current ongoing live relationship with our previous kit supplier, which will end at the end of May. So we will then look to go live in June with KitLocker, so fans can then purchase, if they wanted to purchase stuff online, they could then purchase things purchase all the merchandise and kitware online from June onwards.
Brilliant. And Phil's third question was, what do you see as the biggest untapped commercial opportunity at the club?
Yeah, interesting question. Obviously, commercial opportunities, we have to be quite creative again, given the current climate, given what's happened and like I said before, the overspill effects of COVID. But I think the new stand brings some fantastic commercial opportunities for us. I think we've already mentioned publicly that there will hopefully be somewhere in the region of 15 or 16 commercial boxes that will sit behind the last row seats at the top of the stand, which will, potentially give us 15 or 14 or 15 opportunities to drive some good revenue through those commercial boxes. That will be hopefully a significant sum on an annual basis when you put them all together. I think generally, myself, the likes of Colin Doherty, our business and development manager, and Louise Hutchinson, we all sat down and really brainstormed hard about how we maximize revenues given the climate that we're working in. And I think what the lifting of restrictions over the next 2-3 months brings is massive opportunities on the functions and events side of things. So whether it's us marketing more effectively to not just our fan base, but the wider community as to the facilities that we have at the club that are available, that have been upgraded in some cases. So we've obviously got facilities that we now manage across at the Heartland and Westover welfare site as well, which have been updated and refurbed with, Steve Karmer's our foundation manager, has done a fantastic job of securing grant funding to improve the facilities at that site, well as the already fantastic facilities that we have at our home ground, and to really try and drive, whether it be club based events or whether it be private functions. I think we've got to start thinking more outside the box as well, and not to limit ourselves just to having to use our own facilities. So one of the ideas that we bounced around is, can we think on a much bigger scale? Can we look to host maybe 3 or 4 large scale events off-site every year that might accommodate between, I don't know, maybe 500 to 1,000 people. You can look at various venues that are in the local area where, yeah, of course we'd have to pay for the usage of that venue, but we could drive some serious revenues by putting on some really good events that capture the imagination of the fan base and the local community. Again, Heartland and Westover, the outside space at Heartland and Westover is another area we could potentially use as well. So we're looking at an outdoor boxing event over the summer. We're looking at we've got the Rosie Fest festival at the beginning of July. So we just need to start really thinking outside the box. But I think that's the biggest, for me, the biggest commercial opportunity for us is people have been stuck in their houses to a large extent for 12 months and they're desperate to get out and enjoy themselves. And can we get them to enjoy themselves with us as a club? So, we reconnect as a fan base, we reconnect as a club. At the same time, we spend a bit of money enjoying ourselves, having a drink, having something to eat, putting some events on, putting some shows on, whatever it is. And, so it's a win-win for everybody. That for me is the biggest commercial opportunity that we have.
And just on a similar related point, I know Lisa made some questions related to when we're going to be reopened. So I'm going to ask Chris to unmute himself now, so Lisa can ask her question that she wanted to ask earlier on.
I want to know when the beer garden is opening, Lee.
Where at the ground, Lisa?
Ground, yes.
Well, that's been a topic of discussion actually the last couple of days. Obviously, the considerations that we've got at the minute are twofold, and that is we're going to try and pick a point where we feel it becomes commercially viable for us to do so, given the restrictions. You know, obviously, as soon when you open up, obviously your facilities again, you then have to take staff off furlough. You then have incur costs, costs of sales. But also, we've also got to take another huge consideration is the fact that Mariners Park, or First Cloud Arena, should I say, is going to be a construction site over the next few months, and there's obviously health and safety implications. I mean, I've seen you have a couple of drinks before, Lisa, and
That's not what you mean, Lee.
sorry, I don't wish to cast aspersions, but
I'm really not sure what you mean, Lee.
well, JCBs and alcohol probably don't combine too well. So we'll have
Probably not.
But no, on a serious note, yeah, I think again, this is where we maybe turn our focus and energy towards the Harton and Westover site a little bit more, and see if we can, like I say, organise some club-based events to get the fan community back together and for everybody to enjoy themselves. Because I think, on a serious note, I think there is going to be a hell of a lot of work going on construction-wise at the ground, and that's probably going to prove problematic in terms of reopening some of the facilities.
That's fair enough, Lee.
Thanks, Lisa.
And there was just one more question from Phil Thornton. He's asked what is the one thing that the club will deliver over the next 12 months that you're most excited about?
Well, I can't get away from the new stand. Again, maybe it's just because I've been so immersed in it over the last, since I took over my new role, really, and along with a lot of other people at the club and a lot of other people that are helping us to, to hopefully make it come to fruition. But yeah, I mean, just try and. I wonder if I'm able just to quickly screen share something, Dan. Am I able to do that?
Yeah, you should be able to. I'm just going to double check that you've got the ability for it. Yeah, I believe you've got the facility there. Is it showing for you?
It's saying host disabled participant screen sharing.
2 seconds.
Dan, try pressing on the 3 dots in Lee's
Just
corner.
do it now, Rob. Got it there. There we go. Have you got it now, Lee?
Oh, yeah. Can everybody see that? Can people see that, Dan?
Yep.
Yep.
Right. Just very, very quickly then, just to hopefully whet your appetite a little bit. So that's in 3D form. I know it's quite far away, but that's what the outer shell of and we're looking at color schemes and things like this as well. So we're potentially looking at maroon seats with blue balustrading and fascias that will obviously represent the club colors. But just quickly looking at the proposed internal layout, although this, I must admit, this has changed a little bit over the last few days. I'll just quickly run through. So this is where the turnstiles will be new turnstiles incorporated where they are currently, so they won't change in terms of position, which will lead into an indoor foyer area for the fans. So we're looking at some really visual striking artwork, on the walls. That's something that really welcomes the fans to the. Can people see where my cursor is and stuff there as well, Dan?
Yeah.
And then the fans can either come out the shuttered doors into the ground through that exit there, or into the new club shop facility here, We've then got, if you're then walking into the ground, you've got your 7 staircases which take you up to the seated area of the stand. So the first row of seats is going to be approximately 2.5, 2.6 meters high. So you can actually still stand in front of the stand to watch the game. So there's still, you know, capacity for around about 1,000 people to stand in front of the stand and watch the game. We've got a food kiosk with a serving hatch here. We've got a new boardroom facility. We've actually changed the plans on the media office. So that may not go ahead, because what we want to try and do is maximize the bar area. So we're going to create a huge bar area inside the new stand, which will be much bigger than any other facility that we've got at the ground so far. We've got the ladies and the gents toilet block. This will be the main entrance into the stand. So we're probably going to now incorporate the main external entrance for players, officials, and guests. But at this point here, with some security door solution here to stop, you know, free access to everybody into like the boardroom area and things like that. But this would be the main access into the stand from the pitch side, which they can then either turn right into the bar area or left into the toilet facilities. You've then got disabled toilet facilities, and then cleaners room, and then we've got the bar space itself, which will be pitch side with 2 serving hatches from the bar out to fans. So you can either get served alcohol from outside pitch side itself or from inside the bar. And then we've got a separate kitchen, staff welfare facilities, and then also plant room and a cellar. So hopefully that just gives you a quick snapshot as to the kind of things that we're looking at for the stand. And, you know, visually, again, in terms of the interior design, you know, the architects have produced some really, really stunning, you know, ideas for how it's visually going to look. You know, of course, we need it to be robust. We need it to be, you know, we don't want it similar to, say, the Shipley Lounge upstairs in the current clubhouse. We want it to be more kind of like more rugged, more almost like industrial, but at the same time visually striking, modern. Something that's going to really, fans are going to really enjoy spending time in there. A lot of bar counter space. We're looking at not just the facilities, we're looking at processes as well. How do we manage the flow of customers better? How do we deal with customers quicker in order to improve that customer experience? So lots of ideas in the mix, but hopefully that gives you, well, hopefully that whets your appetite somewhat ahead of when we push the button.
Yeah, I think it's certainly done that. Next up, Darren Tinmouth, you've had your hand up for quite a while. So I'll ask you to unmute yourself now so you can ask your question.
Yeah, hi Lee.
Hi Darren.
This is in relation to yesterday's news about the reverting to full first team status. Now, when I first read it, I thought it was a very brave move from to be a TSM club. So I'm just wondering, what sort of due diligence would you have done to actually make decisions? Because this is not something you would have taken lightly.
No, it's not. And obviously, as I've said before, Darren, it's not a transition that we've made in one step either. Obviously, as you know, last season and season before, we were carrying what, 5, 6. I mean, the start of the 1920 season, when we still had the likes of David Foley and players like that, we still had, maybe 8 or 9, memory serves me right, 8 or 9 what you would class as part-time players in the squad. That then moved down to about 6, and then obviously Gary Brown left, and then we were left with the 5 players that we have up until this point. But in terms of due diligence, Darren, we've evaluated the pros and cons of. I think Graham mentioned this in his statement yesterday about the extra benefits of actually going what you class as fully full time, and how you really then are in full control of the full squad, and you really are ramping up the amount of contact time that you have with all of the players. That was the biggest frustration. Obviously, I was in that role with Graham up until 3-4 months ago. The biggest frustration we had was the fact that, in some cases we only got one training session a week with all the players there at the same time. So on a tactical level and on various levels, it does hamper and restrict what you can do. And we as a club, Darren, we're being beaten with the full time stick, so to speak, by everybody outside of the club, when in reality we felt internally that everybody thinks we're full time, but we're not quite, if you know what I mean. I really do think it's the right move for us, given where we are. You've got to take your hat off to Jeff. You have to take your hat off to Jeff for being, like I say, bold and really, like, ambitious and I'm not just saying this. What really is at the heart of Jeff's decision making, and trust me, it's not making money, because he'll tell you, if you want to see how much money he's made out of this football club since he's taken over. I'm sure, well, he hasn't made any money, that's for sure. What is at the heart of his decision making is what's going to get the fans most excited about our football club, what's going to connect the best with the people in our community, so he wants us to continue to be a really quality force on the pitch, and so in his mind it was the only route we could take, really.
Yeah, he basically wants us to be the next big thing, which is really, really exciting.
Yeah, but do you know what it is? I think we're trying to do it in a different way, Darren. Again, people who don't know a lot about the club, I think, look from afar and think, oh, here we go, another one of these non-league clubs are trying to buy their way through the leagues, or all the way to the top. Look, I'm never going to sit here and say, obviously I was manager with Graham for 4.5 years or whatever it was, and I'm never going to sit here and say that we didn't have a healthy budget for the levels of football that we're playing, because we did. But I'm telling you now, if you were to compare against, you're talking about clubs like Fleetwood Town and Fylde and other clubs have kind of have gone on that road, so to speak, and we're not even close. So we are doing it in a different way, where I feel like there is really true, honest, and healthy intentions with what we're trying to do as a club. One of the things I'm most excited about over the next 12 months, to jump back to a previous question, is, again, I've spent quite a bit of time with Steve Kahn, the foundation manager, and just really like piecing together our strategy for how we connect with more people in our community, from the charitable perspective, from the foundation perspective. We're going to announce, really shortly, our plans around a new, really, really bold community volunteering program, where this is going to involve the staff and the players at the club, where we're giving up, we're genuinely giving up like part of our working week to go and be actively productive in the community with various charities, with various organizations, various schemes, in order to improve people's lives in the South Tyneside community. And that's something that I'm really, really proud about. And I think that's something that we can all be proud about. And I know that once we unveil those plans in detail, that we'll get all the help and more that we need from our fan base and from other people in the community, in order to make a real difference to people's lives.
That's brilliant. There's a few bigger clubs could learn a bit from what you're doing, Lee. So thank you.
I appreciate
Yeah, I'm going to pass over to Ken Buzzard in a minute. He's had his hand up for a while, but I just want to say, first of all, a big hello to Stephen Sutton from Vermont in the USA. He's been living over there for the last 12 years. He's just sent a message through saying how delighted he is with the progress of the club. I hope you're enjoying tonight, Stephen, and we'll hopefully see you for a question soon if you've got something to ask Lee. But I'll unmute Ken now and ask him to ask his second question.
Hi again, Lee.
Okay.
I've sent an email anyway.
Yeah, I've got it here, Ken. Right. Yeah.
But I'll ask the question now. It's regarding the new stand again.
Yeah.
I've had some members and supporters ask, is there going to be any disabled facilities in the new stand?
Yeah, so there will, yeah, go on, sorry, Ken.
Well, basically that, and also is the club looking to do some disabled concessions for entry in the future?
Okay.
Right.
With regards to facilities, as you know, we've had that area allocated not far in front of the main turn side of the ground for some disabled viewing of the pitch. We recognise that it's far from ideal. The challenges that we've had is that yes, we're building a new stand and it's going to house a number of facilities, as I've already outlined. One of which, there'll be a disabled toilet facility in there, and there will be disabled access to get inside the stand and access those facilities within the stand. The challenge is, unfortunately, because of the lack of space between the current perimeter fence of the whole site and the perimeter fence of the pitch, it was very, very difficult. I'm speaking to the architects. Very, very difficult for us to be able to house disabled spectators up in the seating area without it being a very, very high cost and at a loss to quite a number of seats up in the stand. So what we've looked at is well, what can we do instead? So as some of you will be aware, we've also got a disabled toilet facility within the clubhouse. So you've got the downstairs bar in the clubhouse, and then you've got the little corridor that takes you to first the female toilets, and then the male toilet, and then the disabled toilet. So we thought, well, actually, what we can do ahead of next season is potentially construct a structure with the ramps included that is sat right up against the clubhouse wall. If you imagine where the toilets are inside the building, Ken, the clubhouse wall on the outside, to erect a steel structure where the ramps included, where it's at an elevated position, where they can actually get a much better view of the pitch, and then they're close to the disabled toilet facility on that side of the ground, and then that still allows us for having standing spectators in front of them up against the pitch perimeter fence in that corner of the ground. So we'd love to do more than that, but obviously we have restrictions on what we can facilitate at this stage. But we feel that would be a step forward on what we have, and we would obviously look to try and get some cover over that structure as well, in case of inclement weather. So that's what's been proposed at this point. So I hope that answers your question, Ken.
It does. I'll pass it on to people, the members who are asking that. Yes, thanks very much, Lee.
No problem.
That's great. Thank you.
Brilliant. I think Rob's got a question as well, so I'm going to unmute Rob now as well.
Yes, Dan. I want to sort of ask you a question, Lee, regarding sort of a different caliber instead of sort of current affairs. I'm intrigued by something during your managerial days.
Yep.
So obviously, as a manager, one of your big sort of responsibilities is sort of doing your research, looking into upcoming opponents. What tactics do they use? How do they approach each game, as well as how you approach each game? Is the sort of with being at non-league level, can you sort of, you know, when you see an upcoming game, when you see the fixture list, can you sort of stereotypically judge that all non-league teams will play with certain tactics, and if so, how would you counteract that? You know, like how did you and Graham come to the decision that, you know, on this game we're going to play this formation, these are the tactics we're going to use against this team, you know, things like that? I'm sort of intrigued to see sort of like your thinking behind your approach to games.
Yeah, no problem, Rob. Well, I think first and foremost, we always try to put our best foot forward. So in terms of rather than kind of molding our strategy around what the opposition might do, to actually hopefully to get them to worry about us more than we worry about them, but at the same time having a clear understanding as to what the key threats were from the opposition based on videos of games that we'd watched of them play previously, based on, you know, anecdotal reports that we'd had from other managers as well, so that we understand, you know, key threats from set pieces, any specific set piece routines, general you know, setup in terms of formation, you know, generally what their patterns were like, what is the pitch like, because that did probably more than anything else have a big bearing on what we potentially did. You know, we'd love to turn up every week and have a pitch like ours to play on, but that's, as you all know, that's not the case when you go around the grounds. And so we have to be adaptable to a certain degree. We can't go out and try and play, you know, pretty patterns on the floor week in, week out, because you're gonna fall short. No two ways about it. So, you know, like I said, Rob, we try to take an analytical and strategic approach to each and every game, but at the same time, the forefront of our minds believe in what we were doing, and really try and identify not just their strengths but their key weaknesses. Like, which areas are we going to hurt them in? You know, are they weak down one side? Do they get stretched? Do they, you know, what are they like in certain situations? So you roll all those things up, and that helps you to form your strategy.
Did you and Graham always have a sort of go-to formation when you maybe not necessarily struggled to sort of come up with a master plan, but sort of, you know, your go-to formation to fall back on in the worst case scenario?
Well, I think what we utilised probably more than anything else over our time together was the 4-diamond-2 setup, which we spent a lot of time really drilling into high levels of detail and with the players. And to be honest with you, Rob, that was I would say that was one of our major strengths in terms of our collective understanding of what it is we were trying to achieve on the pitch. But it can also be a real downside for you as well, because if for whatever reason you're having to bring new players in, whether it be on loan or a new signing comes in, you're having to throw players into a system where everybody else is really well versed, and one or two players really aren't. And so actually, rather than, and I'm not trying to talk disparagingly about other clubs, but, you know, at other clubs there's more mentality of, you know, we'll pick our best team, put the lads on the pitch, and, you know, we'll kind of see what happens, and players play more probably off the cuff a little bit. And so when you bring new players in, they're playing off the cuff as well, and so there's no real difference. But if you bring in a new player into a really highly structured system and coordinated system, then that action can hurt you, being, you know, working to that level of detail, if that makes sense.
Yeah, perfect sense. Cheers, mate.
We've got 3 people waiting to ask questions at the minute. We've got Michael Manuel, Jordan Roster, and Andy Gardner. So I'm going to kick things off with Michael Manuel. So I'll ask you to unmute yourself.
Right, there we are. Evening, Lee.
Hi, Michael.
Hi there. Yeah, it's just something that you mentioned earlier on. You mentioned, like, when it comes to recruitment, you feel it's going to be a buyer's market. It's going to be, you know, players getting cut from teams above, and that'll trickle down. What is the plan for recruitment? Do you think it'll be more that we might target academy players who might be getting released from the likes of Newcastle, Sunderland, Middlesbrough, on the basis that now we're full time, we are potentially a more attractive proposition to any such players? In turn, are you expecting an influx of those prospects getting in touch potentially, like a load of YouTube highlight videos to watch?
Yeah, all the time.
Or is it more that we'll be looking at, you know, the leagues above, National League North, National League, or even, do I dare see it, League Two for new signings?
I don't think that's an unreasonable possibility. I really don't. Because again, you know, I can't mention any names, but we've actually already, literally since the announcement went out, we've had players approach us, and obviously agents as well, with options, with options moving forwards. I think what we've been really proud of what the academy's achieved, and again, we want to have that constant line of players coming through that can potentially impact the first team in terms of youth. And the good thing about that as well, Michael, is that obviously going back to the previous point that I made with Rob, is that those players are well versed in how we operate on the pitch, which is a major advantage. But I think in terms of our main recruiting targets for next season, I think we're probably going to look at some more experience, some big character. We've lost, as you know, we've lost some big characters in those players that unfortunately can't continue with us on this journey now. We need to replace some big personality, some real quality, some experience. Players that I would class as game changers. Again, our aim always has to be we recruit players into the squad, into the club, that are going to be better than what we've already got.
Yeah, spot on. Sound brilliant. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Michael.
Right.
Next up, Jordan Rossiter. I'll ask you to unmute yourself, Jordan.
Hi, Jordan.
Hello, Lee, mate. Right. Just about this new stand, will it be like a scoreboard incorporated in it, like, or a digital clock?
The big question. So I know obviously we've been in a room together, John, with John Hardy, and I know this is John's big mission in life to have a scoreboard.
He hasn't told us to mention it. Like, I've just did it myself.
Well, actually, Joe, is, as it happens, off the back of those conversations that we had, I actually contacted some guys through a mutual contact, through a mutual friend, who work in that field. Electronic advertising boards, electronic scoreboards. They came up from the northwest and did a site visit a little while ago, just to give me an idea as to the indicative costs that potentially would be involved, and obviously the logistics around it as well. So it's on the radar, so to speak, Jordan. I think it's probably one of those things that you would, again, we've got to be careful, but we've got to be considered about how, where we focus our energy and our resources. And I think, look, it would be a lovely thing to have. It would be a fantastic thing to have, and I think it would add some real value to the matchday experience.
Even an old-fashioned one, you'll get Robert Reed to change the scores every time.
Well, I cricket one.
I just get someone to put the numbers up.
I don't mind.
But no, I think given that the new stand's going to be on that Shaftesbury Avenue side of the ground, the guys, when they came to do the site visit, they recommended that probably the best site for something, if we were to do something like that, would be in the corner of the ground where the clubhouse, the right hand side of the clubhouse, as if you're looking at the clubhouse, that void between the the floodlight in the clubhouse, you know, so next to the balcony, in effect, from the clubhouse. So you know where the First Cloud Arena signage is. It's got that metal structure to hold it up outside the ground, or facing outside the ground. A similar sort of structure that would house, you know, potentially an electronic scoreboard that was on the diagonal, facing more towards where the new stand would be, but you would still be able to see it from the 3G end of the ground. So obviously you can't, there's no one spot in the ground where everybody would be able to see it clearly. But I think given that moving forwards, a large proportion of the fans are probably going to be situated in that new stand area, then it probably makes sense to put it facing in that kind of direction. So they said, for, you know, for various reasons, that would probably be the best site for it. But there's obviously, we're not at the stage of saying that that's going to happen, Jordan. But if John wants to coordinate a fundraising effort,
we'll get the playing cards out. Cheers, Lee.
No problem. Thanks for the question, John. Cheers.
Just before I bring Andy in, I'm going to preempt another question that I think you're going to probably be asked at some stage, Lee, about the PA system at the ground. Obviously, with the new stand going in, I'm guessing there's a lot of people questioning whether the PA system will be upgraded at the same time. Can you just give an update on that? Yeah,
it will be. So in short, there'll be a new PA system that will be probably controlled or from the new stand. Again, we're looking at the logistics of actually whether there's any technological solutions around, you know, like almost like Wi-Fi, some Wi-Fi solutions around, you know, having wireless speakers situated at various points around the ground, so that the information is not just coming from one side. But yeah, it's been discussed, and we know through the feedback that we received from supporters that it's something that we have to sort out moving forwards.
Brilliant. Well, Andy, next up, so I'll ask you to unmute yourself.
Hello, Lee.
Hi, Andy.
Hello, Lee. I just want to take subject back to the commercial side of things. Certainly around sponsorship of the club and sponsors as well. I'm aware the question I'm going to ask is before you took up the role as the chief executive. A friend of mine was a sponsor of the club for a number of years and didn't receive good communication from the club about sponsorship and things like that. And he runs his own business and doesn't have time to sort of follow up and contact the club. And he received an email 6 months before the sponsorship was due for renewal, and just asked the club for a little bit more time to make a decision, because as I say, he runs his own business, and basically found out on Matchday that he was no longer a sponsor. So what I'm asking is, what kind of communication around sponsors can sort of be improved in that manner? And I do have this written down, sorry. What can you suggest about better communication from the club to sponsors, attracting new ones? And does the club have a good idea of where they want to take the sponsorship in the future?
Absolutely. So, Andy, again, that was the first thing, and Dan, I'm sure Dan will fully endorse this. When I first took over a new role, I felt we had to be absolutely honest with ourselves as a club where we were at. We've made such a large amount of progress over the last 5-6 years, and we've done a lot of really good things as a club. But to sit there and think that we did everything perfectly would be so far from the truth. And we've made lots of mistakes, and without doubt, historically, we haven't been good enough at once we did get sponsors on board, engaging with them in the right way, often enough, and really making them feel valued enough. And since I've started working with Colin Doherty, who's obviously tasked with that side of things at the club. Colin's been fantastic and has been really really engaging with a lot of the sponsors. He knows, you know, through discussions that we've had together, that we can't make the same mistakes moving forward. And I'm not saying there were Colin's mistakes, by the way, because like I said, Colin's not long been in post either. And you know, nobody's under any illusions that what's expected from us as a club moving forwards now in terms of how we deal with and communicate with everybody. So again, you know, this is just hopefully one small example. You know, what we're doing tonight. I just feel like the club should and will, moving forwards, be more transparent, be more open. There's obviously things that we can't, you know, we can't be completely open book about everything, because there's sensitivities that lie behind certain things that go on at the club that, you know, if we're just constantly made public, that would actually put us in a poor position. But, you know, we have to engage with people and make them. It is, without, you know, sounding too, you know, like romantic about it. It's a real, you know, it's a journey that we're on together, and we all need each other in order for that journey to be successful long term. And so we can't bring people on board. We can't be like take and then give nothing back. And I'm not saying that's how we've been as a club, but there will be examples, as you pointed out, that demonstrate that we've not got it right in certain cases in the past. So that has to end now. We've been reflective. We've been inwardly reflective as a club in terms of the staff, and we've all asked honest questions about what we do, and we're now well on the way to plotting a really, you know, positive pathway forwards, and that involves, right at the heart of it, our relationships with everybody that we deal with at the club, sponsors, you know, players, fans, you know, key partners, you know, the colleges that we work with, you know, like we are, again, without trying to sound overly romantic about it, we are like you know, we have to operate like a big family, and look after each other, and because that is what will hold us together, and what I would argue has held us together through these really challenging last 12 months. I know people have, through the contacts, through the networks, through the community of you know, friends and fans that's been built up over the last 5 years, people have really helped each other through this last 12 months. And I think, you know, that's what makes me really proud to be part of this football club, because I actually think that's not par for the course with every football club. I really don't believe it. And I think there's a lot of really special things going on in our club, and my job is to try and facilitate more of that, you know, and for people, so that when we do hit roadblocks and, you know, dips in the road, which are inevitable, by the way, moving forwards, no matter how well we operate moving forwards, there's always going to be things beyond our control. There's always going to be, you know, dip in form with the first team, or, you know, we don't know what's going to happen. But if we get those connections and those relationships right, then people will stick with us on the journey, and it will bring us even closer. So I know I've gone around the houses a bit there, Andy, to answer your question, but I'd like to pick that up with you privately, if you don't mind, just to find out a little bit more about that, if you don't mind, Andy, and then, you know, I can hopefully do something to repair whatever damages has happened. But you know, moving forwards, we have to engage with people in the right way, and communication has to be right at the heart of that.
Excellent. That's spot on, Lee. Spot on. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks.
I believe Grant's been waiting a little while to ask his second question, so I'm going to unmute you now, Grant, so you can ask Lee your question.
Hi, Lee.
Hi, Grant.
What's the update on Dario Darius Rossi, because obviously he's been injured a long time again, because he got injured on against Cheltenham in the FA Cup. I just want to know, is there any update on him?
Yeah, he's absolutely, you'll be glad to hear he's absolutely fine, Grant, and he'll be raring to go. And you know what it is, Darius, the fans at the club still not have seen the best of Darius Asai. And you know, obviously Graham, Brian and John and the rest of the staff are tasked with getting the best out of Darius. And when that does happen, and it will, when that does happen, I massively believe that everybody is in for a huge treat, because he's got, on his day, as we see in, you know, glimpses against the likes of Halifax, you know, on his day, Darius is unplayable, and we've got huge hopes for Darius, and we know he's going to be a big part of our success moving forwards. Thanks for the question, Grant.
Cheers, Lee.
Okay, so next up is Simon from the Yorkshire Mariners. So I'll ask you to unmute yourself, Simon.
Hi, Lee.
Hi.
Hi there. Just a quick one regarding the shares. Will there be an opportunity for more shares to be bought from existing shareholders in the future?
Yeah, so I've had conversations with Jeff about this, and you know, we envisage that there will be future opportunities for Jeff to release some more of his stakeholding in the club, and for fans to have an increased share in the overall ownership of the club. So in short, Simon, yes, that is the plan. We don't know exactly when that's going to happen, but that is definitely on the agenda at some point in the future.
That's great. And another quick question. Obviously, over the last 4.5 years, with you and Graham in the dugout, were you approached as a duo from any other clubs for your services?
Oh, that's a naughty one, Simon. No comment.
No, that's fine.
Asking Mia's got one, and she wants to know if they're going to bring out a bigger range of kids this time.
Yes, just a quick one regarding the kit locker one as well. You touched on it earlier on regarding more things available for children, the likes of hoodies and things like that. Is that something that Kit Locker will be supplying?
Yes. So, like I say, we're one of the things we're looking to do, as well as, you know, improving the accessibility and the ease, or the customer friendly nature of the shopping experience, so to speak. We'll also look to increase the range of products that we offer. Like I say, not just isolated to team and kit wear, but also, you know, white label goods. So, you know, we can sort those white label goods, we can source them ourselves. And then what we do is we have an arrangement with Kit Locker whereby we package them, we send them down to their storage facility. They then, you know, incorporate them as part of the online club shop, and then fans can buy them online, as well as us having obviously physical stock in the club shop as well.
No, that's brilliant. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you.
Okay, so there's been a few more questions sent in via email. One of them was from Kenneth Scott, who asked about match tickets and methods for buying them. He said that when he was buying tickets last season, there was a few occasions where he had to ring 350 times to the club number to get through, because all the sales were done over the phone.
Yeah.
Just asking if there's any plans to upgrade that process going into the new
Absolutely.
season.
No, absolutely. Again, you know, that must have been, you know, obviously I think he might have been slightly exaggerating there, but it must have been really, really frustrating to have to go through, you know, that repeated process of trying to get through. And, you know, of course we've got staff in the office, but we've only got a limited number of staff, and if there's a high demand on calls, then it's you know, it's difficult for everybody to get through in a quick amount of time. So we've looked at that, as you well know, Dan. We've looked at that internally. We've talked about that a lot, and you know, we would, ahead of next season, we'll have a process in place whereby the online purchasing of tickets will be improved, and so that people don't have to go through the, you know, we will still retain the option, I would imagine, of being able to phone up, because not everybody, even in this day and age, has got access to the internet readily available. But we would imagine, we would envisage that the majority of ticket sales in those situations for cup competitions would happen online, and we will make sure that the technology that is used as part of that process is all running smoothly, and that there will be a hassle-free operation.
And he's also asked as well about the potential for a loyalty point system. Is that something that has been thought about at all for match tickets?
It hasn't been. It's not something that we've considered. I think that I read that one earlier on, and like you mentioned about to reward the fans that travel up and down the country to support, and I can agree at least with the sentiment of that to a certain extent. The only issue is how do we logistically kind of track that, and that's quite a complex problem to solve and then work off. So I think that's probably not something that's high up on our priority list at this particular moment in time. I think although like I said, I do agree with the in part with at least the sentiment behind it. So I can't give any affirmative response on that, unfortunately.
No problem. We've got Rob Reed back on again to ask a question, so I'll unmute Rob now.
I feel a bit greedy asking 3 questions, but it's not going to stop us. So when in your dugout days, what was your favourite part about a match day? Was it sort of, the atmosphere? Was it the walking out on the pitch? Was it sort of, waiting for the full-time whistle when you had 3 points secured?
Yeah.
And also coming off that, what sort of the thing you miss most about match days?
Well, do you know what it is? A lot of people have asked me that, Rob, are you missing the football? And the honest answer is, well, a couple of things. One, I've been probably too busy to miss it, and 2, I think we haven't had any football at the football club, so I've not really had an opportunity to miss it. I mean, we literally played that one game in the FA Trophy away to Ashton United. That is the only game that I've not been involved in. Since I changed my role at the club. So it's I'm sure when we've got 3,500 in the crowd at home, and there'll be certain parts of me that will miss it. But it's a trade-off with everything. Decisions you make in life, there's always trade-offs, Rob. And genuinely, at this moment in time, I'm not saying 100% it won't change in some time in the future, but at this moment in time, I'm absolutely 100% comfortable with the decision that I made, and I'm really, really enjoying what I'm doing at the club.
Is there one thing that you miss about being a manager?
Yeah, do you know what it is? The changing room. Like, it's a special place in terms of you develop really, really close bonds with the players, with the staff. It's a really emotionally charged environment, whether it be in those last few minutes before you go out onto the pitch, whether it be at half time if you're doing really well, or if you're not doing very well at all, or at the end of the game, whether everybody's heads on the floor because we haven't got what we wanted, or everybody's jumping up and down because we've picked up a massive 3 points. It's like, and it's that competitive nature of that I know I'll miss that, like that advert, that
buzz.
That real, like, almost that adversarial element between you and the opposition.
Yeah.
It's like you're going into battle every week, and it's there's those ups and downs emotionally. Don't get us wrong, it's draining, and you know, when you've done it, I know me and Graham only did it for 4.5 years together at the club, but that's actually quite a long time in football managerial terms.
Yeah.
And, you know, week in, week out, to be so tightly inside that bubble, which is what it is. You sometimes lose perspective on a lot of things outside of that bubble, and it brings a lot of joy, a lot of satisfaction, but also it has its, you know, it does have its drawbacks as well. And I'm starting to enjoy a bit more some of the aspects of my life, and obviously I've got a young family as well, Rob, and I'm not going to lie, you know, that was part of the reason for the decision that I made. And you know, I'm loving spending a bit more time with my boys and my family, my wife, and so yeah, there's always going to be pros and cons, but I just feel blessed, I really do, that I'm still doing a job that I absolutely love, in an environment that I absolutely love being part of, working with people that I absolutely love working with. And I just think, you know, yes, we've all had lots of challenges over the last 12 months, but you know, I've got so much to be thankful for.
Yeah, I mean, and like you said, 4.5 years isn't a long time in the grand scheme of things, but from a manager's position, you know, that is quite a lengthy chunk of time. So it must have been harder on your part, you know, to not necessarily break up the chemistry that you and Graham built over the years, but it certainly wouldn't have been easy on you when you did make that final decision, to know that you know, you wouldn't have the same sort of role as Graham, which is sort of, you know, built upon for so many years and sort of affected in a way when dealing with a football team at our level, you know, week in, week out.
Yeah. Thanks, Rob.
No, thank you.
Okay, I'm aware that we've been going at it for about 90 minutes now, almost as long as a game. So thanks everyone for sticking with this. I'd imagine we're coming towards the end now, but we have got a question from, I think, Chris Lilly. It's a long email address, so I think it's Chris, but I'm going to ask him to unmute himself now.
Hi Lee, all right?
Hi Chris.
How are we doing, okay?
Yes, very well, thank you.
Good. Lee, I'm just wondering, obviously apart from the Wembley game and the run up to Wembley, when in charge of Shields, what will be your favourite sort of game? Have you got a favourite match or?
Oh, that's a good one. I mean, there literally has been so many. In fact, I'm trying to cast my mind back now to when I was asked this. I think the Shields Gazette did a piece not so long ago, asked for like our top 10 or top 20 moments as managers at the club. I mean, obviously, as you say, Chris, that the run up to the Vars was a really special time. Outside of that, I mean, that first really good FA Cup run that we had, you know, when we went Darlington away was a great day. It was a great day. I just picture, you know, the hundreds and hundreds of Shields fans. Sorry?
So apart from the weather.
Yeah, and it was, but it was just great to see, you know, literally hundreds and hundreds of Shields fans on that bank behind the goal, and you know, obviously Dylan Morse got the first one, and then I think Anthony Callaghan provided the assist for Finners to get the second one in the first half, right in front of their fans. And you know how Finners likes to keep a low profile in those situations. And then we, I just thought we absolutely like give them a bit of a lesson on that day. And obviously they'd had a lot of successful years prior to that under Martin Gray. And you know, Martin's somebody I've got a lot of respect for. I spoke to him not so long ago actually, and but on the day I just thought we were absolutely excellent. And then obviously Finners got the third one in front of our fans in the second half. But then, you know, that obviously led to York City and then led to Hartlepool United, and that was a really good run of games for us. So yeah, possibly that.
Oh, good. Great. Thank you, Lee.
You can't obviously deny, you know, the history that we made this season, albeit, you know, it may be almost forgotten in the grand scheme of things because of what's been going on. But the, you know, to get to the first round proper in the FA Cup is a historic feat for the club, and it was tinged with such bittersweet emotions, you know, going down to a Football League club and having nobody in the ground. It was, you know, I remember walking out with the players. It was a really, really warm day for the time of year. And I just thought, all I could think was, like, the fans would have absolutely been in their element here. They would have absolutely loved this. It was just such a shame. It really was.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
I actually remember that piece, Lee. I'm sure you cited the Radcliffe game a couple of seasons ago as one of your favourite moments with all the academy lads who came in that time of adversity.
Oh yeah, I mean that Will Jenkins goal. Do you know what I mean? You know, I still get, you know, shivers, hairs on the back of my neck thinking about it now. You know, it was made by the academy, layoff by Sam Hodgson into Kieran Charlton, who played the through ball into Will Jenkins, who then lobbed the keeper from 35 yards. And I might have added a few yards on there, but sounds good anyway. And you know, I think what a lot of people don't realise is when you see the video playback on it, Will then obviously turns away and celebrates, and where he like jumps up and lands, and everybody piles on top of him, and there's his dad standing in the crowd like 5 yards behind him on, you know, next to the barrier. And it's that was just a really, really special moment. I thought that was brilliant.
Brilliant. I think we're coming towards the end now. We've got 3 more questions lined up, and also one from Darren Tinmouth. But I think unless anyone else has got any questions, now's the time to put your hand up if you do have any more. I just want to ask one from Barry, who said, is there any update on when season ticket prices will be announced, and will there be a bigger increase in pricing moving forward on those?
Right, okay, well, we've actually got a meeting lined up internally with a number of the staff on Monday to you know, put our strategy together for the season ticket price and policy for next season. So that will be announced in due course, and probably, you know, maybe the beginning of April, I think, and then we'll then further confirm, you know, when those will go on sale. But again, you know, we've just want to say a huge thank you to everybody who has supported the club, not just financially, but, you know, the messages, little thing, you know, for instance. And I know he's on the call now, and I hope I don't embarrass him by saying this, just little things like, you know, Ken Buzzard, you know, took the time to you know, to frame a photograph of, if we're going back, you know, old memories, you know, we had that game against Colne at the end of the 17-18 season when we won the Evo Stick First Division North, and obviously we paraded the trophy around the ground, and Ken took a lovely picture of me and my son on the pitch. And, you know, during these COVID times, you know, he took the time to put it in a frame and give it to me at the ground. And it's just stuff like that, you know, just little acts of kindness. You can tell how much this football club means to people, and it's just fantastic for everybody at the club.
And a couple of quick fire ones. Ronnie Pete has asked, what will you wear on a match day? Will it be a tracksuit or a suit or something else?
Nice one, Ronnie. No, given I don't think I'll be able to get away with wearing a tracksuit anymore on match days, unfortunately. It took me a little while, just even around the house, get out of the habit of wearing my kit, much to my wife's dismay. But yeah, I think I have to get the old whistle and flute sorted out. But no, I think it's obviously, I think it's important that you know, we've obviously got we welcome visiting guests and officials to our football club, and we want to try and, you know, act professionally and in the right way. And I think we've got to project project ourselves in the right way across the club. So it's not just me, you know, there's other conversations to be had all around in preparation for when we get going in match days. And again, I know I've bleated on about this a lot, and you'll be sick of hearing this, Dan, but you know, the match day experience is right at the heart of my focus moving forwards in terms of how we operate, you know, logistically, you know, in terms of what we put on for the fans. We are showcasing ourselves each and every week as a football club, and we've got to have, whether it's home fans or visiting fans and officials, we have to have people going away from our football club thinking, wow, that was brilliant. That's, you know, we always talk about how proud we are of our match day experience, and I fully agree. It's been really strong up until this point, but in my mind, there is so much more we can do. And it's not just about improving facilities. It's about, again, going down to those tiny interactions that it might be between a member of the bar staff and the customers, might be between the volunteer stewards and, you know, some of the fans. We have to develop a culture within the ground, within the club, which then translates into consistent, really strong behaviours from us as a football club, so that people understand what we're all about and they're proud of what we're all about.
Brilliant. And there's a question from Sean Defty as well about Robert Briggs after the back of last night's news.
Yeah.
Asking how confident are the club that he'll stay?
Well, we're desperate for Robert to stay, and Robert really, really wants to stay at the football club. So, you know, there's a couple of things to potentially work through, but it would be wrong for me to say anything else at this stage. But all I will say is that we are absolutely desperate and committed for Robert to stay at the football club, and likewise, he assures us that he feels the same way.
Brilliant. We mentioned Steve Sutton earlier on from US. We've also got Eduardo on the call from Brazil. He'd like to ask a question, but his mic's down at the moment, so he's just going to ask it via the chat function. And he's asked what the pros and cons are of having a joint manager regime at a club, because that's something that's completely non-existent in Brazil, he says, and it was strange for him to hear about it when he first heard about what happened to South Shields. So can you just run through what, from your point of view, the pros and cons were of that arrangement?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, I absolutely loved my time working with Graham. Obviously, it extended far beyond our time just at South Shields. And for, you know, a relationship to be successful for so long, there obviously has to be a hell of a lot more pros than cons. So, look, you know, I think in terms of the pros, you've got somebody who you implicitly trust that's there right alongside you, someone who can share the burden when the burden exists, in terms of, you know, if and when tough times come along, then, you know, there'd be times that Graham would support me if I needed a lift, and I would support him if he needed a lift. You know, the old adage of two sets of eyes are better than one, and you know, sometimes as a manager by yourself, you can't see everything. If there's two of you and you both, you know, looking for the right things, then invariably you gain more from two sets of eyes looking at it than one. You know, on the cons side, obviously when there is a difference of opinion across certain decisions, then it's then, you know, the grey area of, you know, well, how do we sort that out? And you know, having someone like Brian Smith was really important. Brian, who's obviously still at the club, is a massive asset to our football club. I can't tell everybody how highly regarded Brian is by the players and by us as the staff. You know, he's absolutely top class, and he often acted as a really, you know, helpful sounding board and mediator, if you like. It makes it sound like we're marriage counselling session or something, but no, you know what I mean. And yeah, so I think sometimes there is a difference of opinion, and then that's, you know, that can bring sometimes some frustrations, but that's part of being in a relationship and being a partnership. You know, you find ways to work through them, and then you're stronger for it coming out the other side. All I will say is that, you know, I really think that that Graham's going to do an amazing job for the football club, you know, as sole manager of the club. I think he can now truly go and, you know, do exactly, you know, go and apply exactly what he would want to do. And I would do the same if I was in his position. And I think it might actually give Graham a new lease of life, because it's different now. It's a different dynamic. You know, it lies solely on his shoulders now, and you know, I think you will get a bit of a lift from it, and I really look forward to seeing what Graham produces on the pitch with the players, and I know it's going to be fantastic for everybody to watch.
Brilliant. Obviously, we're getting close to 10 o'clock now, so I think we'll have 5 more questions, because there's already three lined up. So if anyone does want a question answered, then the next 2 will be sort of given their priority. But one's came through from Rob Reed. He obviously hosts a quiz night for us every Thursday, and he's asking Lee what you think, or how you think you'd do on one of his football quizzes on a Thursday night.
Oh, fair to middling, I think. I think I'd be in the pack chasing that last European spot, I think.
Does anyone want me to find out, Lee?
Yeah, well, you'll have to speak to my wife.
Okay, I'm going to bring Darren Tinmouth in to ask his question now.
Yeah, I thought I'd think with a light-hearted one, Lee. I mean, because it's very rare on the pitch that you showed your emotion. We saw that, but when against Halifax, I mean, you were fist pumping the crowd and all that, was brilliant. But you obviously went into Cheltenham knowing that it was going to be your last game behind the dugout.
Yeah,
well, we know that now. I mean,
yeah.
I'm just thinking, so how awesome must it have been as a way to bow out by going to a football league ground to basically manage a game?
Yeah, it was a really proud moment, Darren. But you know, like I say, it was quite bittersweet. Obviously, I knew, as you've alluded to, I knew what was happening after the game. I knew, because we'd already kind of pre-decided that, you know, I'd be speaking to the players after the game to let them know first and foremost, because it was the right thing to do, that, you know, what decisions had been made. And you know, that was a really, really emotional day for me. Probably an emotional good few days, to be honest with you. You know, like I said before, when you've been, you know, so heavily entrapped in that bubble of, you know, football, being a football manager, to know that you're moving away from that, and you're moving away from, you know, I just love the day-to-day involvement with the, you know, the interactions with the players and the staff, and knowing that wasn't going to be anymore, was emotional, and you know, got quite emotional after the game with the players, and so yeah, it was obviously disappointing to bow out of the competition on the day, but it was nice to know that the last game that I had was a bit of a landmark moment for the club, and that we'd got to the first round proper, and it was a really significant achievement for the club.
Yeah, it just makes us all wish that we could have been there with you to actually enjoy the moment.
Absolutely.
Brilliant. Now, just got one more question from the emails, which came from Lewis Wilkinson. He asked, after the disappointment of the last couple of seasons and the way they both ended, how sort of motivated do you feel that the team and the squad will be to push on going into the next season?
Massively so. And I think, you know, me and Grail have had conversations about this the last couple of days as well, about how actually the decision to go full time brings with it another opportunity, in so much as we're now in March. The next season doesn't start until mid-August. We've now got an unbelievable opportunity, given that all the players in the squad will be just fully focused on being footballers at South Shields Football Club, to get them in a physical and mental place that is, you know, as high as it possibly can be going into the next new season. I mean, how often you get like a 5-6 month run up into a new season? You know, in some respects you're often starting the next season with a little bit of a physical hangover from the previous season. So it brings with it a massive opportunity. And I know Graham's consulting with the right people. We work with a couple of other consultants on the kind of like physical and strength and conditioning side of things, and it's just a great opportunity for us to hit the ground running next year. And I'm, like I've said before, I'm just 100% convinced that we are going to be such a really exciting team to watch next year, and a force to be reckoned with.
Brilliant. Well, that looks like it's come to the end of the questions for the night. It's been a great response from everyone. Thanks to everyone who's joined the call. Thanks to everyone who's asked a question or just listened in. As Lee mentioned before, we're going to be looking to do more and more of these kind of things in the weeks and months ahead. So if you want to raise any suggestions on who you'd like to sort of speak to.
You're going to possibly, we talked about doing one with Graham, didn't you, Dan?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I was saying we're going to be doing it with other members of the club as well. Yeah, so other sort of members of the club will be up for questions as well. So if anyone's got any suggestions on people that they'd like to speak to in this sort of format, just get in touch with us. But Graham is one of the ones that we'd like to do it with in the coming weeks. So keep your eye out for details on that. And I don't know if there's anything more that you want to add, Lee.
No, just thanks for your time tonight. I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and again, you know, in the interests of us being better moving forwards, if anybody ever does have any feedback, you know, ongoing about any element of the club that they feel is worthwhile, then you know, either pick up the phone or send us an email via the info@southshields.co.uk email address, and you know, you have my absolute assurance that your opinions and your voice will be heard, and that you know, we will look to do anything that we can to try and make, you know, anybody's experience of our football club be even better than what it already is.
Brilliant. Well, thanks again for your time, everyone, and we look forward to seeing you on another one of these pretty soon. So once again, have a good night for the rest of the night. There's not much of it left, but enjoy the rest of your night, and we'll see you again soon.
Take care, everyone. Thank you. Good night.
Cheers, Dan. Cheers, Lee.
Cheers, Lee.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Lee. Cheers.
Cheers, Lee. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Lee.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Take care, mate.